Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the Queers of Time podcast.
I'm Matt.
I'm James.
I'm Camille.
And I'm Kat.
And this is a podcast to talk about all the gay stuff in the Wheel of Time.
Because we're gay and we like the Wheel of Time. So as always, thank you, Lurks, our feral venator of Thorin.
So as everybody knows, we love the Wheel of Time fandom, and being part of Twitter of Time personally for me has been one of my favorite experiences of my lifetime. But sometimes y'all kind of lack chill, and yeah, I'm including myself in that. So today, Camille and I are going to make predictions not about the third season of the Wheel of Time, but predictions about the second longing in Twitter of Time.
Because that longing is gonna be long. And if you're not ready for that, oh boy.
Oh my, I'm just like thinking how unhinged some of us are gonna get. And I can't talk. I really can't talk because I get impatient too.
Oh yeah, I completely feel it. I know that sometimes I would like more news, but it's so weird because with Twitter especially, the notion of time is very weird. Like something that may have happened a week ago may feel like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And it's hard to keep track of what we got and what we did not. And I mean, we had to wait a long time between season 1 and season 2. And while I'm hoping that the time between season is going to decrease, because there was a lot of circumstances explaining why there was such a long time between those two seasons.
Right.
Yeah, I'm curious. How's that going to go?
I think it might actually. So we're going to have less time between seasons 2 and 3, I hope, and I think that's what the indications are. But my sense is that, so a lot of, obviously we liked the first season and I liked the first season, but I really, really loved the second season. And the cliffhanger it ended on was a cliffhanger that has more people. So like last year with Moraine being still/shielded, we had that theory to go off on, but now all the Forsaken are loose, and like it's a cliffhanger that builds excitement instead. And there's a lot more hype, and the fandom's also bigger than it was. So even though I think the longing's going to be shorter, I'm anticipating us losing our heads a bit a bit more frequently as the months go on with little to no news.
Yeah, and I mean, for those who did not count, there was about 21 months between the end of the first season and the beginning of the second one. That was a long ass time.
It was. And granted, like a lot of what happened between seasons 1 and 2 is directly because of COVID. Like the world's fundamentally changed between the filming of season 1 and 2. And I get that. And we're still feeling the ramifications of that. So it's, I don't know, it's really hard. And just know, like when we make predictions about like what Twitter of Time is going to do in a second, we say it with love. You know, we love you guys. All y'all are fun and fantastic, and we know so many of y'all. So this is made with love and some self making fun of as well. Like I am not exempting myself at all from the teasing.
I mean, so a few people know about that, but I have a friend who works at Amazon, and sometimes he knows a few things, but he never tells me anything. And it's like, even for me, who keeps making fun of the fandom sometimes, it's hard when I'm on a phone call with him not to ask anything about the Wheel of Time. Mm-hmm. But I'm really trying not to, because I don't want my friendship to, like my friends to be like, are you just interested in me for the Wheel of Time? I'm like, no. But if you have something.
Are you just using me for my wheel?
No, I am not. Yeah. It's, we can all get a little bit crazy. But yeah, like typically, I think also one of the reasons why the longing fell so big before season 2 is that there was also a big gap between the end of production of season 2 and the release of season 2.
Right.
There was like 16 months, which is quite unusual. I think it was mostly related to, there was a big post-prod backlog, big VFX backlog following COVID. With the strikes, I'm hoping that this backlog definitely decreased because a lot of movies were not produced for a long time.
Right.
So that should make things a little bit easier in the future.
And I think hopefully we have less feral comment like threads about how and why Amazon has forgotten about us and Amazon hates us and Amazon doesn't care about the show, which we got so much of in the last longing, because like a lot of people need to realize like Amazon is a huge company and it sucks. And yes, oh gosh, what's his face? Not Zuckerberg, the Amazon CEO.
Bezos.
Yeah, Bezos. Like, yes, he's a billionaire and billionaires are bad and like Amazon's bad, but also like the production company itself, like The Wheel of Time isn't the only thing they're doing. And like we've had Allie on the show sometimes and she talks about like how long production and marketing takes. We also had the writer's strike. So like, I just hope that fewer people make long and melodramatic posts about how Amazon hates us and how they don't care about the show.
And also it's hard, like, because a lot of those posts were about, what was I trying to say? A lot of the posts about Amazon were also regarding marketing. And I think marketing with streaming company, Amazon is not a great company to market their content. It's also complicated to compare between two TV shows because it also completely depends on what market they're aiming for, whether it's like more of an international market or not. It depends whether they feel like a show can do well without marketing or needs a lot of marketing. They always going to have a tendency to market more first season than following season because first season is an unknown, so you want to let people know that it's around. Second season, well, they have other way to remind people that it's there just by sending them email and notifications that, hey, second season of a show that you've already watched is out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard to say from our point of view as fans whether a company actually care for a show or not. Especially like, I understand that a lot of people are worried, for example, about cancellation, because when we see that Netflix canceled Shadow and Bone, when Shadow and Bone, in fact, was viewed a lot during the first semester of 2023, you're like, some of the company decision doesn't make sense. But also Amazon is not Netflix. Amazon have a way smaller catalog. And
right.
Like, for example, The Wheel of Time is... When you look at Flix Patrol, which is a website that keeps track of every top 10 on streaming services in every country, and based on that, it gives a rank to different TV shows. Mm-hmm. Well, on that website, The Wheel of Time was number 5 on Amazon, like of all of Amazon TV show for the whole year of 2023. Because it kept being watched before it got released, and after it got released, it's still being watched pretty regularly.
Yeah.
So
I really hope it's like, because you have a good point there, like the differentiation between Netflix and Amazon. So like again, like we love you guys. Let's not jump to conclusions about cancellation just because the show hasn't been renewed for like seasons 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, etc. Like Amazon has done some shitty practices. Stairs in League of Our Own, like just absolute bullshit. But like,
I'm still mad about Paper Girls. I don't know if you heard about that one.
No, but like I haven't. And as shitty decisions that Amazon has made, Netflix has them beat in spades. Like it has them beat so much. Like other than Stranger Things and like Heartstopper and a few like of their quote unquote flagship shows, nothing is safe. Like at first it seemed there was a very anti-sapphic bent towards the shows that Netflix decided to just cancel for no reason. And now it just seems like they're just canceling pretty much everything. And they're just dumping content.
The thing is that Netflix is a fast food factory.
Yes.
It's like they just want to pump out content, mm-hmm. and it's a lot cheaper to pump out first seasons than third or fourth or fifth season because of how their contracts are made. So they just mm-hmm. pump a few new shows and then cancel them and then put some other new show. And
it's a content farm.
And as long as people keep watching just because they are interested in this new show on Netflix, then Netflix is going to keep doing that.
Yeah. And think about the Squid Game reality show. Like,
Oh, that's so weird.
it's so it's weird. And like, so Squid Game I thought was a great TV show, and I thought it had like a great comment on like an anti-capitalist message. And then Netflix took the exact wrong message from that and churned out a game show that basically exploits people who are really looking to make money, and like, or not make money, but like they have loans, they have debt, and it's just disgusting. So like, yeah,
I mean, it's preying on people who are in trouble.
right.
There's nothing worse than a company can do than just preying on desperate people.
It exactly, and like I saw there's a YouTuber I watch who like debunks supernatural videos. It's just something I put on in the back of work because I love horror stuff and I love spooky stuff, but I'm also like, I like to think I'm more of a rational person, so I don't actually believe that you can go to a graveyard and like see ghosts, but I do like to watch like people debunking ghost videos. But like there was a Netflix show. It was like a 3-part or 6-part, whatever, ghost hunting show. And they like, when they got like, he breaks down like what all they did. And it's a reality show. Like it's total fiction and it's badly written fiction. And it's like people screaming at each other. It's not even a quote unquote real ghost hunting show. It's just like, how did Netflix greenlight this? And then you realize, oh, well, they're axing all but like 3 or 4 of their flagship fiction shows or scripted shows, I guess, for whatever sticks to the wall. So I guess looping back to Amazon, like as bad as some of their practices have been, I don't quite see them doing that to a show that has the pull that The Wheel of Time does. Not yet, at least.
Yeah, and like for anyone who is worried, for example, about the seasons 4 greenlight, personally, I have no doubt that it's going to be greenlight.
Oh yeah,
it's already like a miracle. Then season 3 was greenlight so long ago. Like it was greenlight. 5 months before season 2 released? I think.
I think so.
No, that's a season. That's when it started production. It got greenlight.
Oh.
Where did I find that? It got greenlight more than 13 months before season 2 came out.
Oh wow, yeah, that is not typical.
Like The Boys even doesn't have that. The Boys, I think, like there's always a few months, or like the next season get greenlight when the new season is starting, but it's not that big. I understand why they're putting it that far in advance, because Wheel of Time takes time to produce. If you want a good quality fantasy show, you have to put the time and the effort into it.
Right.
The Boys, it's a bit easier because it's, even if there's supernatural elements, it's still based in some real town in a way.
Yeah.
It's a lot more modern.
Yeah, it's what we call low fantasy. It's a superhero satire, right?
Yeah, it's a superhero thing.
So that's like low fantasy.
Yeah. But regarding season 4 greenlight, typically I'm not expecting it for still a while, because we got the season 3 greenlight after season 2 wrapped. A few months after that, I think season 2 wrapped maybe in May 2022, and we got the greenlight of season 3 in July 2022. So a few months after that.
Yeah.
And we got it for San Diego Comic Con, so like for a big event. For season 3, we know they have wrapped in Prague so far, but I don't think they're fully done, because I think they are still at some shooting to do, like in South Africa or something like that. So I think they still have maybe a few months left in production, and after that, like, you could start to expect some season 4 greenlight. But even then, I wouldn't expect it like right when season 3 wrapped up. It's gonna take a bit of time. Maybe they'll wait for specific events in order to announce officially that season 4 in greenlight. And also, there's a big thing is that it doesn't mean not having an official news of a season greenlight doesn't mean that there's not already some work being done about this season.
Right.
That, for example, the big example is actually season 2 greenlight, because season 2 got greenlight when season 1 finished production. Season 1 production lasted almost 2 years, so they greenlighted when season 1 finished production, and then they started production 2 months after the greenlight, which means they were already done with a lot of pre-prod stuff before the official greenlight. Like the script were already written. You don't start season production 2 months after a green light if there was not a lot of work done before.
Right. Yeah, like it's not something that they can just do. And I think like you and I probably remember this. I'm sure James and Kat would too. But like back in the old days when it was mostly like network television, you didn't find out about a season renewal until after the current season like finished airing, because the networks would renew and cancel, and in some cases postpone new seasons of shows like in the off season. So like I used to watch Desperate Housewives and Once Upon a Time on ABC, and I would constantly check the there was some website that like analyzed the weekly viewers and like the ratings and stuff, and would like make predictions about like what show would be renewed and what show would be not renewed. So like for a long time, you didn't know anything until after the season had already aired. And then you were basically placing bets based on like analytics about whether it be canceled. And it was almost always, like, as much as I hate capitalism and business, like the way that the networks do renewals is very formulaic and very predictable. You would not see them canceling a highly rated show that also had like a lot of viewers. Like,
I mean, that used to be true.
I
don't think it's still entirely true, because like, for example, station 19 that just got cancelled doesn't make sense at all. It's very well, like, it has a lot of views. It's worked pretty well. It's related to Grey's Anatomy. It definitely has its public. It's not particularly expensive either, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So why did ABC cancel that? Who knows?
Yeah, it's probably I would blame Netflix and Amazon, like the streamers, like this model of just trashing stuff.
Yeah, it can be a lot of different reasons. It can be, I think they're just gonna like blame the strikes.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Where was I going? And also, like, yes, the situation has changed a lot, because in old school TV show, you would not produce a whole season before it comes out. You produce a few episodes, and then you start, like, the show start to release while you're still producing and writing and everything, which definitely not the case anymore with streaming. However, what was I thinking? So I talked about season 4 Greenlight. I think we're gonna get a season 4 Greenlight maybe first half of 2024. I could see happen through them waiting until San Diego Comic-Con to announce it. But still some work being done. However, I'm not expecting any kind of filming for season 4 until at least the second half of 2024, because I mean, the time between a season wrap and another season start production is very variable. And even for the Wheel of Time, it's like, for example, there was only 2 months break between season 1 and season 2. But then after that, there was a year break between season 2 and season 3, which I'm guessing it kind of makes sense, because honestly, from when they start in season 1 to when they finish season 2, there was maybe like 2.5 years, 3 years. So it's kind of, it's a time where pretty much none of the cast from Wheel of Time could do anything outside of Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
And also there was a pandemic at some point, so there was literally nothing to do.
It's a huge time commitment.
It's a huge time. So having a year gap could be like, I don't know much about the world. But for me, it makes sense, because it gives actors a bit more time to do something outside Wheel of Time. And also I think they knew they were going to have a lot of delay for season 2 to come out because of post-prod. So why start season 3 that soon?
Right.
I don't think we're going to have a year gap between season 3 wrap and season 4 production.
No, I really don't think so.
However, I don't think we're going to have 2 months either, because I don't think the script have been written. So, and also, I think Donalfin is in Addiston from February to August. So Addiston, I don't know if you know it's a musical that's going to be on London West End. And he has the main one of the main characters in that musical, literally from February to August. So unless they start some production while he's not there, which could be feasible because there's so many different things going on that you could have different block with different actors. But still, I'm not expecting any news about season 4 production until after that is done.
And I think like a lot of people in the fandom don't realize that the actors, like, first, we're very lucky that we have actors who love the show so much and like love the material, because for a lot of actors on TV shows, it's just a job and they have no emotional investment in it.
Yeah.
Whereas like Taylor Napier, like he very clearly is invested in the fandom. Like we have so many.
Guy Roberts.
Yes.
Guy Roberts who's going to both WotCon and MalkyReCon.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him at WotCon.
I'll see him at MalkyReCon. I'm not going to WotCon.
Yeah, it is pricey. And it is in Ohio. Sorry, Ohioans. I love you all. But like, even though they love the show, like they still need to make a living and they still need to work on other shows and other plays. So like they aren't beholden to us beyond like what their contracts dictate that they signed up for. So like they are entitled to look for other work and to be in other roles. So like we can't keep them, like we can't just put them all into a little cage and say, okay, you are our actor Demanes, and you're just gonna do what we say now.
And also, like, it's also good for the name of the show. Like, for example, Rosamund Pike that just got a Golden Globe nomination for Saltburn.
Oh,
Everyone's gonna Google up like what she's doing, and every time she's being mentioned, The Wheel of Time is usually being mentioned too. So it's good for other actors to show off how good of an actor they are. So it also brings some renown to the TV show. And also, I feel like considering some of the casting announcement we got, like official or non-official, we got for The Wheel of Time season 3, for example, it feels like more and more big names are kind of interested in having a role there. Like we already had some good cast in season 2, but it keeps growing and it's pretty impressive.
It's really awesome. It's really fun and I'm excited for it. I think that I think most of the fandom is very reasonable in our expectations. It's just like when one or two people are like, oh my God, what if this, and this? It starts this sort of spiraling chain of like panic.
Yeah.
And that's when it gets to be really irritating.
I mean, and I get it. I know sometimes you're being a bit too much in your own head in a way, and stressing out about something that doesn't really need to be stressed out about right now.
Right.
It's an understandable feeling. Just take a big breath. There's no indication right now that it's not going to go well, because Wheel of Time got really praised for season 2. Like,
oh yeah.
Even if we know, for example, that the viewership was lower than season 1, big part because of the strikes. We can talk about marketing as much as we want. We still lost San Diego Comic-Con and all of the manpower of all of those actors promoting the show.
Right.
But it's still like critic-wise, it's an improvement from season 1.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything shameful about the viewership. It was not as big as it could have been, but it was still pretty decent.
I mean, considering that we had strikes.
Yeah.
Considering strikes, considering the fact that there were so many bad faith people trying to like actively tank the show on social media, like the show did good, and I'm proud of what they did, and I'm proud of like the viewer numbers that they got from, because it was a lot of work. Like what they did was a lot of work. And some people I know get irritated when you say that season 2 is a big improvement. I don't necessarily see that as an insult to season 1. Like, just because
it's a natural way of how things works. It's like,
do you not want it to get better?
It's like, no, but like season 1 had some good foundation.
Yeah.
And it allowed the show to keep building upon them and to keep getting better and better. That's how things works.
And it's how a lot of seasons of TV work. Like, you know, most well, maybe not famous anymore. I don't know. I'm out of touch with cultural things, but like Parks and Recreation, like the first season of Parks and Recreation was just so unsteady. But like once they figured out what worked in the show, season 2 was amazing. And people who they lost in season 1 eventually came back around. And yeah, I mean, that's just how TV works.
That's how TV works. What else did I want to talk about? We're still going to get, like, even if we're not going to get season 3 this year, and it's going to take some time to get some news about season 4, I still think we're going to get some good contents.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, we already have a bunch of fan convention.
Mm-hmm.
We can say whatever we want about Amazon. The fact is that it's impressive how much content we get for those fan convention.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm still amazed by Jordan Kuhn regularly receiving a video from Rafe Jenkins and other actors talking about the show. It's a fan convention. It's, even if I don't know how many people are Jordan Kuhn, but it's what, at most 1,000?
Yeah, something about 1,000-ish.
It's not like Comic-Con. It's
Right.
not even like Dragon Con. It's tiny, and still we get some visibility through that. Well, not really visibility, but at least Amazon sees us and still care for the fan base to interact with us in those situations. And maybe it's also part from Rafe Jenkins that probably is pushing from that, because I do think the crew seems to very much like the fandom.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think a lot of us realize how lucky we are that most TV shows do not interact with the fans the way that the Wheel of Time production does. And I feel like a lot of it is like the Tweeter of Chaos interacted with us so much, and then like during the strikes, during the gap in seasons, there just wasn't a lot to say, and that's when a lot of people went kind of feral. Like, y'all realize, like, we're very lucky that we just got the interaction that we got in the first place. Like,
yeah,
they didn't have to do any of that. Like, some shows, they literally just treat it as a business, and they'll like do maybe a few fan interactions. They'll maybe speak at a con, and that's it. Like,
yeah. And I mean, for example, the fact that some content creator got invited to Prague to see the set. And I mean, honestly, I talked with a few of them, and it was quite fair from Amazon, because it was in the middle of the strikes, which is always complicated for content creator, because you don't want to cross a picket line. So they got invited to the set, but kind of without any contract, so they didn't have to post about it if they didn't want to until the strike were over, which I think it's like honestly pretty generous.
it is.
I wouldn't have expected that from Amazon.
Yeah, like from them of all. It's like what I find with a lot of corporations. Like, a lot of corporations are run by soulless lizard people, but like the people in the trenches, like the middle to lower management, like the people doing actual work, like actual labor, not just sitting there getting a paycheck in their CEO office. Like, they're generally good people who care about what they're putting out.
Yeah, and I think the quality of the show also comes from people caring about it a lot. Like, I don't know, when I see this costume and everything, it's incredible when you see that they really think about, for example, the culture of that are represented, and how to bring them into the costume, into the set and everything. And I don't know, I really like this show.
And also not giving a shit about what bigots think, and just making it as queer as they want.
Gosh,
which how many shows? Like, I watched Doctor Who, like the latest Doctor Who specials, and Doctor Who is not owned by Disney, but Disney is giving the BBC money in exchange for exclusive streaming rights outside of the UK. I assumed that along with that, a lot of the social issues would just get totally watered down because Disney would force them to. But there's a trans character played by a trans actress of color in the latest specials, she's a protagonist. Like, she is someone that you're meant to like identify with and root for. And I was like really shocked that that the BBC did that, given, you know, the state of things in the UK.
Yeah.
I was happy and I was impressed, but like not every network does that. Like Disney, like the shows that it does own, it's notorious for like toning down any hint of queerness.
I mean, do we even have a queer Disney princess yet?
Nope.
I mean, there's been queer main character in Disney movie. They got absolutely no promotion at all.
Right.
What was that one that came out last year? Like a year and a half ago.
I don't know.
I think. Gosh, I don't know. I never watched it because I didn't hear about it at all at most.
I know that the first ever Disney character, Disney character coming out is like a meme, because like every time it hits the news that, oh, there's a queer character in a Disney movie for the first time, it's like a blink and miss it moment. Like I remember when they hyped it up for Beauty and the Beast with Emma Watson, LeFou danced with a guy, and you literally could have blinked and missed it. It was enough to get past the Chinese censors.
Same thing with like Avenger Endgame, where it just basically it's not an alcoholic anonymous meeting, but it's kind of look like that. And one person mentioned his husband, and that's it. And you're like, great, thank you for the representation.
Yeah, it's like.
Yeah.
It's just it's frustrating. And like, so yeah, for like a TV show like Amazon to do something, or for a TV show like The Wheel of Time to do something like that and not really care what the bigots say is pretty awesome.
And especially while still being mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's been plenty of TV shows who got the opportunity to be queer, but usually they're not mainstream. They're not TV show initially intended to reach a big audience.
Yeah. No, I'm just thinking of the sci-fi TV series, The Magicians, which had the opportunity to like have a character actually be bisexual, and pair him up with somebody that nobody was expecting. But then they just killed him off instead. And he committed suicide to save his friends, is how it was framed.
Great.
Yeah. So I refused, when I found out what happened, I refused to watch that episode, and I refused to watch the rest of the show. Like no, like you don't have someone come out and then commit suicide because it saves everybody. Like, no, just fuck that.
Anyway, do we have more to say about the fandom? Oh yes, and also I'm expecting them to be again at San Diego Comic-Con. It will be a revenge from that last missing San Diego Comic-Con, which was completely fair play because strikes, but still. I want them in a big... I'm actually also curious whether there's going to be anything regarding the Emmys.
I don't know. Do the Emmys usually discriminate based on like genre? Like I know the Oscars are allergic to horror.
It's not great with fantasy. I mean, so one thing that also sometimes annoys me a little bit is that when we talk about fantasy TV show, we have two big names in mind. We have Game of Thrones and we have The Wheel of Time. Well, for the Wheel of Time fans, we have Wheel of Time and Game of Thrones. And a lot of people are going to compare the nomination between the two. And Game of Thrones, the thing is that it came out at a time where high-quality TV shows were not a thing.
Right.
It's not the case anymore.
It was like, there was Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, like, and like, there's so much, not to like totally pivot into a different topic, like there's so much prejudice against fantasy.
Yeah.
In horror, which sometimes is fantasy, sometimes is not.
With genre media a lot. Like same thing with sci-fi.
Yeah, basically with genre media. And it's because like dramas and comedies, because they don't have that magic specific element to them, they don't have to spend a lot of time on special effects, so they can focus a lot on like character stuff. Not saying that fantasy doesn't have character, because that's just blatantly not true, but like with Game of Thrones, yes, there was a lot of costumes and yes, there was a lot of CGI, but like it felt more like a drama that was in the guise of a fantasy show. And I'm not saying that to like look down on fantasy or look down on drama, because I love fantasy and I love drama, both real life and TV stuff. But I feel like there's still that stigma of, oh, if your movie is too flashy or if it has magic, it's just not worth consideration at the Academy. the Ivory Tower Academy.
Yeah. It's and also like typically for the Oscar Academy Awards, we know what the type of person voting at the awards. So and fantasy has the hard job of having to explain their world and how they work, which a lot of things centered in real life events, in like dramas and comedies, they don't have that job to do.
Yeah.
And it's easy, for example, to just not watch fantasy because you're like, yeah, I don't understand it, let's move on.
Yeah. And there's like an unfortunate aspect to that. This is like a lot of genre stuff is, and this is in like book writing too, like, oh, it's fantasy. Okay, well, it should have dragons, it should have wizards, it should have certain specific tropes. And we've talked about tropes on the show. We like tropes when they're done well. You know, who doesn't love a good slow burn enemies to lovers romance when it's done well? But like the thing is, like Hollywood publishers, they treat books, movies, and film and TV shows like marketing products and not like art. And so like there is some world out, like some alternative timeline where Game of Thrones never took off because an exec was, okay, well, this is a fantasy show, so take out all of this interhuman interaction because that's more drama and you can't have that in a fantasy show. So give us more dragons and more flashy bangs and do that instead. And they did, and it never took off because it wasn't Game of Thrones the way Game of Thrones was meant to be, because it blends genres. Very rarely do I come to the Game of Thrones defense publicly. I do like Game of Thrones a lot, but I rarely mention that I love the series because I invariably get people who are like, yeah, but the last season was such shit. I'm like, yes, I know the last season had issues. Just let me like the show. God damn it. Let people like things, you know. While we're ranting, let people like things, you know.
Oh gosh, people are annoying.
Yeah.
Gosh, earlier today I was annoyed by some random person that I had never interacted with on Twitter because I don't know. I tweeted something saying that it was about Dune, the movie, and some people have criticism about, like, I don't know, for example, casting and this kind of thing. And I don't dive much into this critique to know exactly what it is about. So I basically said, yeah, I don't have much opinion on that specifically. However, like, there was also like a tweet making a big criticism because the director was French and they should know better. And I'm like, the director is not French. I don't care about the rest of the critique. You can say whatever you want, but like, the director is not French. And someone was like, it's like, I'm pretty sure they didn't read or they read and as a result think that I was thinking that thing and now had to prove me that my opinion that they made up in their own mind was wrong. And I'm like, guy, go elsewhere, see whether you can annoy someone else with your opinion that I did not ask for.
Exactly. It's like, and media literacy is so bad these days. Like,
yeah,
it's like false information and bad critical thinking have always existed, but like Twitter and other social media outlets like just really let people let loose and spread. Like, social media isn't doing anything new, it's just doing it faster.
Yeah.
So misinformation and like this idea like, well, it's my opinion and it's valid. I'm like, no, if you tell me that the sky is lime green, and that's your opinion, and I can't tell you any otherwise, like, well, no, actually, you can prove objectively that the wavelengths that are filtering through the atmosphere produce what we call blue. So if you want to pretend that it's lime green, you can pretend, and I guess that's valid in its own weird way, but we're going to call you a little bit delusional, and we're kind of right for that. Like, just because you have an opinion doesn't mean it's valid if it's not based on, like, rational critical thinking, unless it's an opinion like pineapple on pizza. That's a personal taste. It has no quantitative value. You can't tell someone that they're wrong for liking pineapple on pizza. You can just say, well, I don't like that.
And also, like, there's a lot of debate on Twitter where it's like, for every single thing, you have to figure out who's right and who's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what about neither?
Right.
What about both?
What about both y'all being wrong?
What about I don't care?
Yeah, exactly. I've seen some drama on Twitter recently, and I'm just, I don't care. I do not care. Like,
I don't care.
I'm gonna go back to reading my books.
Yeah. Sometimes I wish that there was a mode on Twitter that you could just turn on sometimes and just see your friends and the things they like and how they're doing with their life, and just have like a community thing, but without like all of the noise elsewhere, all of the bad thing, all of the criticism about something you don't even know about, because it's like, I miss friends on Twitter. I almost don't see them anymore. I just see blue checks.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, so let me go on Twitter now. Like, so I see For You, and I do see a lot of people that I'm following, but then I go to the following tab, and it's like retweeted stuff that I don't care about. So it's like, I see more tweets from people, like direct tweets from people that I know. Like, okay, so I go on For You, and I see my friend Laura, who lives in Minnesota. Hi, Laura. Tweeting about Christmas. Okay. I go to the following tab, and I see an ad for the NBA. I see something about a TV show called Black Sails that I've never heard of. I see a tweet in French.
That's not me. I haven't tweeted in
I know it's not you. No, it's not you. But it's like, Twitter's broken. Like, most people I hear have issues with the For You tab. But like, for me, it's like, if I put following, it's just bizarre. Oh, anyways.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for today.
Yeah. We didn't do a lot of making fun of the fandom. Like, we did some light poking, but...
No, because the thing is that we also know that if we make fun of the fandom, someone is going to take it too seriously.
Someone's going to take it seriously.
And we don't want to deal with the drama. I want to be drama-free for like a week.
That would be nice. Yeah, no, there's always someone who can't take a joke online. And I'm not talking like white man comedian. Oh, you can't say anything offensive anymore. But like, literally, that's just like, people just have no chill. Just no chill.
Yeah. Anyway, anything else?
No, that's it.
In that case, thank you very much for listening to this episode of The Queers of Time. I don't know what we talked about, but I hope it was somehow entertaining. If not, well, sorry, it is what it is. If you want to find us, we're on Twitter, as we've been talking for the past 5 minutes. We are on Blue Sky and Tumblr some days. And we have a Discord server that you can join, on which we have a currently ongoing book club about Camille by Sheridan Le Fanu. Is that how you say?
I think so. Yeah, Sheridan Le Fanu.
Sheridan Le Fanu. Yeah, and if you want to support us, we also have a Patreon. We always appreciate people supporting us, because producing a podcast is expensive.
Yes.
And that's it.
Money, please.
Money. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you all for listening. This was Queers of Time, a Wheel of Time podcast. The music is Dance of the Witches by Julius H.